Okay, we're going to open up. We have a new member of Media Corps today, Austin, and we'll open up. Do you want the first two questions today?
Yeah, sure.
All yours. Use Mike and.
So today is the third time this month last month playing the Panthers. What do you think about that? Is it like a playoff game to you?
Well, we've done good and we've done not so good. To finish it off with our best against them. We know it means a lot for them. It's basically a must-win. So I guess it gives us maybe a little extra motivation, and also being at home, and we want to make sure that we, get on a winning note here before we get back on the road again. I think it's great to play some teams a few times in a row because you create a little animosity, a little rivalry, and it's a perfect day to meet them again.
Any particular lineups for tonight's game?
Yeah, Anderson's in nets. We'll go with six defensemen and 12 forwards. Harper will be out. And we got White coming in to replace Sexton, and we're going to couple White with Smith and Payarvi to make it a hard grinding line and keep the same two first lines that we had last game.
Thank you very much.
That's good. Pleasure. Good questions. You can learn from that there, Brent.
We have any other questions for Coach?
My thunder's been stolen.
Yeah. Yes.
Have any feeling whether it's Saturday or Monday?
I don't have a feeling. Really, it's going to be up to him. I would have loved him today, yesterday, and every day. But I think the reality is that he knows where it's at. The medical staff, they know where it's at, and we're going to be smart about it. All I know is that right now, he was on the ice. It went well again. So there's no setback in the last days. So it's quite a few days now where there's no setback, and it feels good. So at least we can hope for a comeback at some point or another, and any day makes a gigantic difference for our team. Not looking good. I'd love to tell you day to day, but I guess it's more week to week, and there's not many weeks left. So I guess that's the best way I can put it. Could. Yeah, no, he was sure that he was going, but I know for a fact that it was so much ahead of schedule. That medically there's no history where it happens like this, and you're able to actually really go that early. So I think it's doctors have been and decided to be more cautious because you have to go with what's been done in the past and what's possible, and there's a certain amount of time for those types of injuries for the recovery. And when you're that far apart in terms of the timing, at some point I think it's medically it's a little scary, and it wasn't him. I mean, the kid has been wanting to go for a while, so I was disappointed for him. It would have been nice to see him, but at the same time, when you've missed basically the entire season, does it really make sense to come in and play 4 or 5 games and take a chance? I think when you look at it, the doctors probably made the smart decision for us, and he's going to have the whole summer now to get everything back on track, and then we'll see where that takes us. But he's definitely now feeling great, practicing and doing it all, which is positive. Better than, to be honest with you, better than what it looked like when it happened. When it looked like when it happened, we were talking about they were telling me a whole year off. So I think it's a much better ending to that kind of injury than we expected at the beginning. You want to let the young guys develop at the rate that they need to develop, not put pressure on them, and give them time to make sure that they become the person that they're supposed to become, the player they're supposed to become. But you don't want to put pressure now to decide who's going to be in your top 4 next year, because a lot of things can happen from now until then. Good?
How much should we read into your last 5 games where I think Chabot is 1 and 3? That's over 21 minutes a night.
exactly what I answered in French, is right now he's developing at an extremely fast rate, which I think says a lot about the person and where he's at and the maturity he's displayed since he's been here. Like, he's been asking questions. Yes, sir. What do you want me to do? He's early on the ice. He's laid out. Does video. Like, and he doesn't want to be a good offensive D. He wants to be a good all-around D, and that's usually rare. That's why those offensive Ds take more time, because they think they got to get out there, and every shift they got to create something where, you know, you got to let the game come to you most of the time and read, and that's where he's learning really well. And if he continues that way, the process will be a lot faster than you could expect from a young guy. You know, usually defensemen take 3-4 years before you can say, okay, you know what, he's there, he's a top 4, so maybe we can accelerate the process, but I won't tell you when and how long, because it really depends on him and the summer and next year and who's competing with him and who he fits with. But he's definitely right now showing that his growth is faster than we could have expected. For having read for years and years about, you know, the best athletes and leaders and all that, the one thing they all have in common, those top end guys, is that the failures don't make them drown. They fail forward, we call it, is that you fail and keep going forward, you're failing. And that's very difficult to do. It's easy to say, but once you've had failures, most people will stay on them, and that's why they can't grow. But people like him, and, you know, I coach Crosby's and I coach those guys, they fail, and the next day they want the puck again. Give me the play again. You know, Michael Jordan, you know, just failed and failed and failed, and give it to me again. I'm going to do it. And, you know, and I think that kid's got that type of attitude, and that usually doesn't lie. That's because when you want to be the guy after you've failed, it's because the more you fail, the more you're going to have success. And when you understand that, you develop character that really builds your game after that, and that's what he's displayed. Don't tell him that.
Where do you think?
We got one more on the right here.
Yes. Go ahead, Austin.
All right, here we go.
Where do you think he'll be compared to Carlson in the next few years?
Oh, he's a different player, and I've learned over time that you really don't want to compare players. Sometimes you could compare from somebody, you know, it's 20, 25 years ago, because really it's so far away that it's hard to really look after and compare, because different eras and all that. But when you're compared to you know, a star too young in your career, it doesn't usually turn out well. You want to be yourself, really. And Chabot's got his attributes, and the way he plays the game, it's different than Eric. They both got some offensive abilities, but they don't play the game the same way. And I think when you're starting to copy somebody that has a different style than you get lost. And I don't want him to get lost. I want him to be himself, and himself is really good. And if he keeps growing, being himself, he's going to be a terrific player.